Good morning, good evening, happy New Year's. How y'all doing? Hope you're doing great. Uh, Today we got a double tool special. We're gonna cover two very prominent tools in Phantom Forces. I'm just gonna hop right in with the first tool that we're trying out, which is the ice pick. Now this is like a pretty awful map to get started out on. There's a lot of long ranges. I don't want to be dealing with this, but we're gonna try. We're gonna see if we can get anyone up here. Anyhow, so the history of the ice pick was originally if you wanted to climb mountains, because mountain climbing didn't become a popular recreational activity until into more recent modern times. After the uh, before Common Era. So during the Common Era, ice climbing became more of a prominent, uh, not task, but a hobby. And the hobby kind of like was hard because a lot of the snow climbing equipment wasn't super warm, and it was difficult to get started and everything. And overall, snow climbing was just, not great. And they didn't really have the tools to climb uh, these big mountains. They needed something that would be sharp and durable and have some serrations at the end to help, really grab into that ice. But they didn't have any tools at the time. And this trend continued on for a while. It continued up until the 1930s, where there were some Russian, some Soviet designers who were coming up with a new weapon to use in combat to replace the spade, which the spade was a tool as much as it was a weapon for digging trenches and such. Original designs had much larger rear end application tool that was going to be more of a spade, but they found it was too heavy. So they gave it to a special agent and then told them to go on a holiday in Mexico. Now, as many of you may know, that special agent, while on holiday in Mexico, saw Leon Trotsky, who had recently kind of dipped from the Soviet Union. So, during his holiday, the special agent kind of used the ice pick for its first use in recorded history, which was to assassinate this prominent political figure. After that, the Soviets kind of like gave up on the design, but because of its use in the assassination of Leon Trotsky, it was picked up by the ice climbing community, which at that time was pretty small, and it got to be pretty popular. This design, as you see in the game, is generally regarded as like the standard design for the tool, and yeah. That's about it for like recent recording history. There have been assassination attempts on multiple politicians with ice picks. They are all covered up though, so it'll be hard to do any research into that. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next tool that I'm going to cover in this video. The Scar Hammer. So the Scar Hammer, I'm going to cover the history of the Scar H and the Scar L in another video, but essentially all you need to know is there's some guy with the last name Scar. We'll call him Mr. Scar for right now, possibly Dr. Scar. Yeah, I think he has a doctorate. Anyhow, he designed this tool out of necessity, because he had already developed the Scar H and the Scar L, but they just weren't heavy enough. He was designing these not as firearms, although they were submitted to multiple firearms trials and picked up by some countries in small numbers, but he was designing these firearms primarily as tools, because Dr. Scar, he was a very avid camper, and he loved to go camping, but he needed something to nail intense stakes with. So he kept designing these firearms, but they're never heavy enough. The Scar L, the light one, it wasn't heavy enough. The Scar H, still wasn't heavy enough. They still weren't heavy enough to pound in the stakes on the tent. So he had to go and he had to redesign one of his older designs, and he chose to do it with, as you can see here, it's chambered in 5.56 by 45. So he chose the Scar L because he thought he could do more with it. So Dr. Scar, he added weight to primarily the barrel, as well as some internal adjustments. Drum magazine, which could be applied to any NATO standard Sandtag weapon, but he specifically wanted a drum magazine and the heavier barrel so that it would be heavy enough to be used as a hammer. So the other thing about Dr. Scar is that he was and still is illiterate, so he put this thing on the market as a hammer, but he forgot the E. So the Scar Hammer was born just like that, and he found it to be a decent tool for nailing intense stakes, as well as a murder weapon. Lee Harvey Oswald, the person who's sometimes claimed to be the assassinator of John F. Kennedy, used a Scar Hammer to commit the felony, and he used it to great extent. It's a very well regarded weapon with those who get issued it and those who use it, and I think it pairs very nicely with the ice pick, just as a tool and as a weapon. I wish I could show you, like, in game the function of how this could be used as a tool. Unfortunately, it can only be used as a weapon, projectile firing weapon in the game. But the 5.56mm bullets could potentially help with certain household projects, depending on your situation. So the Scar Hammer in conjunction with the ice pick tend to be a pretty good climbing tool duo. That's why I chose to put them both in the same video. You'll need to go. You'll need to use tents in the cold if you're going to be climbing very high mountains. Like easy reference would be like Mount Everest. You need both an ice pick and a hammer for various tasks. So that's why a lot of recreational and professional like mountain climbers, they'll be using, or they'll be bringing along the Scar Hammer just as a useful tool, as well as the ice pick, of course. And it does its job really well. You can talk to any professional climber nowadays, and they'll definitely recommend you pick yourself up a Scar Hammer and an ice pick to get started. There's some other additional equipment you might need. In recent history, there's been a lot of improvements in like weatherproofing gear and making it warmer and all that. And the Scar L, or the Scar Hammer rather, also contributes to the warmth factor for some of these hikers, because if you have the heavier barrel, it will retain the heat longer. Although it takes longer to heat up, that's why you should be using the 50-round magazine. It takes longer to heat up, but once the barrel is warm, you could use it to potentially even start fires, or just use it as a single point of heat, drilling through ice type of thing. Very useful tool in for an ice climber's gear, as well as jackets and other such things that you'd need. Anyhow, I'm just gonna finish off the game finish off this video showing off the lethality of these two instruments in conjunction with one another. Really useful tools. Not as much history to go behind them, but they are very good at what they do, and definitely if you're looking into ice climbing, this is something you're going to want to have just on hand. Although it might be a little pricey, a lot of the equipment's pricey for this reason, because this is the best you can get in the industry. Just want to thank you all for watching. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a sub, leave a like. Trying to grow to 100 subscribers by maybe the end of the month. Probably not by the end of the month, but if I could, that would be spectacular, and I think if I hit 1,000 subscribers whenever that happens, I'll do a giveaway for this shirt. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Good night, Happy New Year.
Here's our first incredible revelation. There's no such place as Wyoming.